Welcome to day 2 of the Reject Aging Culprits event. This is just a 3-day event, just 3 days, 1 hour each day, and you can reject those culprits that impact your life for the worse and just suck the joy out of your daily life. So hopefully you were here yesterday. If you weren't here yesterday, it is recorded. I would encourage you strongly to view the replay because the information we shared yesterday, I believe, is absolutely required for you to know or at least be aware of, better yet, to understand so that you can age with joy, without decline, and reject the idea of a nursing home as your future. Okay? All right. So, how do we access yesterday's recording? Well, I've got a team. So, yesterday I was so excited to introduce the person from Israel, Dov Niesman, the Olympic swimmer who is 70 and still competing and doing 3,000-meter races in the ocean and winning. I mean, really? I mean, come on. So I was so excited to introduce him, and he had a very limited amount of time to be able to come on. I mean, he agreed to come on. It was like 2 days before the event started, and he's traveling. So I was just thrilled to have him. So I completely neglected to introduce my team. So I could not do this by myself at all. I initially did do these by myself in the very beginning, back in August of 2020. I don't know how it happened, but the quality of these events has increased exponentially because I have a team and lots of people to have my back and to have your back. The first one that I want to introduce to you, and I didn't even ask her if it was okay to have her come on screen, so I'm not going to, but it's Michelle. Michelle is an angel. She does have wings and a halo. I have seen them in my vision. Michelle is the beautiful person with a big heart and extremely skilled at providing information to you in the chat whenever I mention something. I never read from a script. When I'm teaching, I really just speak from the knowledge that I've gleaned over these last 30 plus years. And this isn't me to pat myself on the back, but I have invested heavily in the amount of education that I have obtained over these past 30 years. And so, when I'm teaching, when I'm speaking, when I'm sharing, I mention books, I mention resources, I mention experts, I mention courses, and Michelle is expert at providing links to those whenever that happens. So if you're here live, you're really blessed because you have access to that in the chat. If you're not here live, if there's something that's mentioned and you would like more information, just email support and Robert will take care of you. So I'd like to introduce to you Robert. If you don't mind coming on screen for just a moment, Robert, and letting everybody see your smiling face, and Chris as well, if you want to have Chris join us. So I'm kind of joking. We're kind of like the three amigos here, and or dos amigos and una amiga, because we got to keep the gender in there in Spanish. But Robert is my right-hand man. Robert is here to watch the chat. He will, if we have any questions when I do the teaching for the movement assessment today, the stability assessment, Robert will be monitoring the questions and telling me, what you're asking, and just overall making sure everything's good and things are spotlighted and all that stuff is happening. Chris is the wizard behind the curtain. I even teased him yesterday or last night. I send him requests at the last minute so many times. I've lost count over the years. And he's just amazing. I mean, I requested him to fix a video for me last night at the last minute, and he did it with a smile, I'm sure. And he's just amazing. So, most of what you see technology-wise, Chris is the wizard behind that, and we couldn't do anything we do without him as well. So just wanted you guys to see. So go ahead and, give them some love in the chat, Michelle and Robert and Chris, because they're very necessary for these events to go smoothly and to provide quality for you all. Even though this event is free, it's, on my end, it's not. but that's okay. These are labors of love. And I want everyone to have this information. So thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. So today is day 2. And we are going to talk about some things. So let me get my slide ready here to share. And I'm hoping that it's going to work as far as because when I saved this slide, it didn't allow me to do if I'm going to have media on there. And it didn't give me that option. So I'm hoping when I play the video, it's going to play okay. Got 3 very, very short videos, like 1 minute, but I'm really excited to share this with you all. So here we go. All right, now I know you can see this. This is day 2. Welcome to day 2. Yesterday, we talked a lot about what we've been told, what we've seen, what we've heard, what we've read, and it is insidious. It's everywhere. Even those tests for balance and strength, they tell you that, at your age, ideally you're able to do this number, which is like half of what somebody younger is supposed to be able to do. It's kind of crazy. They just expect everybody to decline. And it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I almost want to kind of err on the side of saying it's evil because it promotes decline in the general population because of these beliefs. So aging, decline is inevitable. This is what we see, we hear, we read everywhere. Well, is it really? These gentlemen don't look like they're declining. Look at the muscles. Look at how fit they are. They've got signs on. These guys are competing in physical sport activities. They don't look like they've declined. So yesterday, we really worked on rejecting decline. And that's key so that you can age with joy. And whatever you're reading, whatever you're watching, whatever you're listening, whatever someone's telling you, even in the healthcare world, even your physician, if you hear you are getting older, or what do you expect at your age, you might want to find somebody else because that mindset is not going to hold you accountable and responsible for aging well. They're basically expecting you to decline. Now, you can stick with them and prove them wrong. Obviously, you've got that choice. But you saw yesterday when you met Dov, still competing, a 3,000-meter ocean water race that he won. I mean, come on. And then you saw Harriet Thompson running marathons at 92, who keeps going. Oops, sorry. You also saw Dietmar and Nelia, 66 and 72 in this. I didn't have the time to really keep searching and find one that's the most recent. This was just a few years ago. This was in 2019. They are still dancing from what I've seen. They've got a website. They're still doing this as far as I know. So what really causes decline as we age? Well, I'm going to share with you today just 5 culprits. I'm going to call them culprits. And let's find out if one or more of these may be in the way of the odds of you aging really stinking well. And I say that because my goal, my plan, and I know we can joke and say, how does God laugh? Well, you tell him your plans. But I am determined, and even scripture says that man is designed to live to 120. Okay, so I'm not that far off. I'm determined to live to at least 112 and be really stinking happy about it. And I say at least because I'm expecting I'm going to surpass that. But I'm going to be really stinking happy about it. I'm going to be productive. I'm going to be vibrant. I'm going to be strong and stable and have joy in my life. Remember yesterday at the end when we said, what kind of legacy do you want to leave your family? Do you want to leave a legacy of complaints and joint pain and decline? What legacy do you want to leave your families? So, culprit number one is mindset. We covered that yesterday pretty well. And you learned that a lack of belief, that you can make a difference in your future. Well, I want to show you Julia Hawkins. At 105 years old, Julia ran 100 meters in 63 seconds. So I'm hoping this is going to play okay because for some reason it didn't give me the option for media. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully you can see and hear this okay.
To meet the 105-year-old lady from Louisiana who ran 100 meters and set a world record. We went to meet Miss Julia Hawkins and expected she'd be real excited to talk about the race, but she told us it's just a drop in the bucket when it comes to the race of life. Like your Mars? Dad? 105 years old, in a class all by herself, and with a fresh pink flower in her hair. Julia Hawkins was running for the record books at the Louisiana Senior Olympic Games.
Now look, she's actually speeding up.
Among those cheering her on were two of her former students, 90-year-old Rosemary and Ellen, who's 89. She finished in just under 1 minute, 3 seconds, setting a world record as the oldest American and the first woman to run 100 meters in her age group. I'm so happy. Now, every winner deserves a press conference, and this one set her own rules. Okay, one question apiece. You want to do it again? Yeah. Right now? No, about 106. Do it again? Maybe so. See, I feel when I get up in the morning.
Now, who didn't just love that? I'm guessing every single person watching that right now is grinning from ear to ear. 105 years old. What's her mindset? Certainly not decline. And then here's Cy Perlman. At 91 years old, or Cy Perlis, excuse me, he broke a world record in 2013 by bench pressing 187.2 pounds. Now, when I first mentioned this man, I was speaking live at a conference, an annual conference, and I remember asking the audience, and there were a lot of gentlemen in the audience, and they were much younger than 91. And I asked, anybody here can bench press 187 pounds? Raise your hand. Nobody raised their hand. And they were maybe 40s, 50s, some in their 60s, some possibly in their 70s. But there were men much younger there, and they couldn't bench press 187 pounds. And Cy didn't start competing until I believe he was 85, maybe. He didn't even start weightlifting until he was in his 60s. So, really? Yes, I'm sorry. I had it written down. Started training at 60 and competing in his 80s. Now, I did find a video at the age of 95, so he continued to go. Now, he pressed 135 pounds at the age of 95. So maybe there's a little bit of less strength there, and I don't know why, what's going on in his world, health-wise, training, whatever. But there's a lot of people much younger than him who can't even bench press 135 pounds. So it's pretty impressive. And then I've got to show you this one. Wow. Powerlifting grandmas prove you're never too old to start something new. Ready? Oh, and of course we've got videos or ads. Here we go.
Says you can still benefit from exercise even if you start later in life. It can lead to actually living longer. Chris Stewart found one group of women proving that research to be true.
For the ladies in this gym, age isn't the number that matters most.
So I'm going to be building up to 200. I want to get that done before I'm 80 years old.
78-year-old Bonnie Thurston is talking about how much she can deadlift.
I said, well,
Sorry, everybody. I just heard that I wasn't sharing my sound. Okay, this should help.
Okay, I've been active all of my life. So this exercise itself was not a new concept for me. I've always been active. However, I just had never even envisioned the idea of doing powerlifting.
7 years ago, she struggled with osteoporosis. Then she found a powerlifting group for seniors.
I now weigh more than I weighed when I started this, but I wear the same size clothes. And the reason is that I have stronger bones, larger bones, and more muscle on my body than I did when I started this.
They deadlift, they bench, they pull sleds. And while Thurston is doing all of this as she pushes 80, she's not even the oldest person in here. Edith Murway Traina.
As a matter of fact, I always tell everybody I have a muscle. And that's exactly what happens when I do that. Everybody says, oh, look at that.
Is 97.
But I've always had muscles. I just had to learn to use them.
Bill Beakley leads this group. He's trained powerlifters since the 90s.
Don't be intimidated by what these ladies are doing because they all started just moving their bodies.
He says lifting correctly can help increase bone density and helps fight conditions like osteoporosis. It also helps these women in everyday life.
It's very functional. Some of them said that they could carry their groceries a little easier now. They don't need help groceries in and out of the car.
And Edith says that movement is so important as she nears 100.
It is very important to get out of the bed in the morning, put your feet on the floor if it's possible, and start moving around. The more you move, the more exercise you get, the more your body responds.
She says she was nervous about the idea of powerlifting at first, but now she trains 3 days a week.
When you start being too old for something, you are too old for something. You have to know that you are capable of doing whatever you want to make yourself do.
And she wants other seniors to not let the weight of getting older stop them from giving this a try. I'm Chris Stewart reporting.
So, what do you think, everybody? You know, your mindset is your gateway. It is never too late to start. I'm showing you person after person after person. And these are real people. These aren't professional athletes. These aren't people who've been exercising and athletes since they were children or young adults. They started late in life and they still did fabulous. So, and science backs this up. I know that I'm a big one on data. Sometimes data can be really skewed. They can play with the numbers. They can use relative risk versus absolute risk. They play with the numbers. It's not real math to make something look better. But these data are accurate. Moderate intensity, so you don't have to kill yourself. Moderate intensity physical resistance training increases muscle volume in quads and calf muscles. Now, those are the only muscles that they were testing. Doesn't mean it didn't happen elsewhere. For those aging in range from 66 to 74. So yes, you can build muscle when you're older. You heard the person on the video just a moment ago. She increased her weight, but her clothes still fit her the same because her bones got heavier and denser. Her muscles got bigger. Yes, muscle is denser than body fat. It weighs more. And when you gain muscle, you might gain pounds on the scale, but you're not necessarily going to get bigger and your clothes won't fit you well. Okay? And I want to tell you, you know, a lot of those studies that talk about, age-related lean muscle loss, what a bunch of hooey. I want you to see this. None of the subjects in the present study had continued strength training after time period 1. Basically, they were sedentary. They weren't doing anything. You can lose muscle in your 20s if you're sedentary. It has nothing to do with age. And here's one that talks about no change, no loss in knee extensor strength. This is if you're sitting and you're straightening your knees in men and women after 8 years. And the average age was 81 and a half. Wow. Right? So even the data doesn't support what mainstream understanding is. All right, culprit number 2, a sedentary lifestyle. Hopefully that's pretty much been made clear with the examples, but I want to share something with you. What is the fountain of youth for aging well? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Anybody here know? Now, some of you may have seen me share this before at another talk or another event, but let me know. Put it in the chat. What's the fountain of youth for aging well? Do you know? And I'm not able to see the chat right now, but I'm really curious. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll down and keep moving. Movement. Yeah, keep moving. Okay. All right. Well, guess what it is? Exercise. Exercise. Now, movement isn't always equivalent to exercise. Now, you can move, you can be an active person, but exercise really makes the difference. Okay? So, why you must exercise. And I'm not saying here why you should, I'm saying must. I saw a bumper sticker once that said, "Don't should on me." And so I do my best to never tell somebody they should do anything. But I will tell you, you must exercise. It is the true fountain of youth. And I'm going to share this study with you. And those of you who haven't seen this before are probably going to be very surprised. They did a 6-month program of moderate exercise, just walking, jogging, stationary bike for just 1 hour, 4 to 5 times a week. That's a moderate exercise program. Okay? It turned back the clock 30 years for middle-aged men. Now, you know how they knew that? It was the same men that they studied 30 years later. They regained the cardiovascular fitness levels that they had when they were 20 years old, 30 years prior. Now, what they did was they started with testing their aerobic capacity, their lung capacity, their ability to do aerobic activity. And they noticed the changes with 3 weeks of bed rest. So they were 20. They put them in bed for 3 weeks and they saw a serious decline. So why do we say it's age-related lean muscle loss when it's activity-related, time-related? Age has nothing to do with it. I just showed you data that showed that even in your 80s, you don't lose muscle mass if you're using it, if you're working it. And they took these men, these same men, 30 years later, and they did similar testing before they did a 6-month exercise regime and after. So they wanted to see, what did 30 years do to these men? Now, not all of them were, really fit. They weren't really big on exercising. They had gained 25% in weight. Their body fat had doubled. That's their BMR. And their aerobic capacity had declined by 11%. 30 years of aging had done less damage to their aerobic capacity than 3 weeks of bed rest did when they were 20. So when you're sedentary, that is death to the body. Okay? But they were able to reverse the effects of aging and increase their aerobic capacity by 15% with exercise. Now they had lost 11%. So they gained more than when they were 20. Exercise really is the fountain of youth. And if anybody here has ever heard of sarcopenia, this is what we're told around the age of 45, that, that magic number. Muscle mass is seen to decline on average about 1% per year. And then we get this increasing body fat mass. So you don't change size physically, circumference-wise, but you're losing strength. And guess what? It's been tied to lack of exercise. Even though they call it age-related lean muscle loss. Why do they keep saying age-related when it's got nothing to do with it? And I just want to give you a little visual because picture's worth 1,000 words. This is a nice healthy thigh. This is if you divided the thigh top and bottom and you're looking down. This is the femur, the thigh bone. And you got your quads and your hamstrings and all those muscles in the thigh here. And this is very little fat mass around the muscles and almost none in the muscles. They're very lean muscle. And this is sarcopenia. This thigh is the same circumference, but there's a heck of a lot more fat mass here and a lot less lean muscle. And guess what? It's not age related. It's activity and exercise related. Now, I've been showing you some videos of people that are strangers to me. I don't know them, but I'm going to show you here. I went to the Colony Senior Basketball League division. There's two divisions, Division 1 and Division 2. Now, you have to be 50 years old to join the Colony Senior Basketball League. And any of you, I don't know if you're aware, but basketball is a pretty active sport. And you can get knocked down. You can get knocked into the bleachers. I saw that happen twice when I was there on that Saturday. I stayed for 2 games, Division 1, which they're a little bit better in the game. And so they average age 50 to mid 60, early 60s. And then Division 2 averages ages 60 up to 85 years old playing basketball. And I even had Mike Daggett, who's 82 years old. He was a guest in my last event, and he's playing basketball every Saturday. And a couple of times during the week, he looks for local games. These guys aren't even just playing once a week. It's pretty impressive. But let me show you this clip, and I want to make sure that you're going to be able to share. Yep, I've still got the computer sound on. Here we go. Now, that number 2 there, he graduated with me in 1976. That's Tom. The guy over there, he graduated with me also. That's Daryl. As you can see, these guys can move and they can shoot. Nothing but net. So why do we think we need to decline? These guys don't agree with that. They're going to play basketball as long as they're breathing. And it's a very active sport. So, culprit number 3, confusion. This is where you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. What do I do? You go online and you do a search. You are going to be so confused. You're going to see millions of responses. Everybody's got a way to do it. And, usually it's, well, do I work out in a gym? Do I work out at home? Which one is better? And if I choose the gym, there's all kinds of resistance options. I can do free weights. I can do the machines. What should I do? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't want to do this one and you don't want to do this one because you're creating abnormal shear force on your knees. This is not how your hamstrings are designed to function. This is not how your quads are designed to function. And a lot of people trash their knees because of these machines. But you need to know this stuff, okay? But we get confused. What do we need to do? And then at home, there's all kinds of resistance options at home. You can buy machines if you want to. You can buy benches. You can buy free weights, bands, and using exercise balls and pulling on things and free. I mean, there are so many options. And then we've got common gym injuries. These are very common. I looked them up. And these are the most common, 10 most common gym injuries that people report. Now, doesn't mean you have to go to a gym to do this. You could do this in your home gym. Okay? So, and then there's all kinds of things we don't necessarily want to put up with in the gym. People that hog or steal the machines, or they're using 2 at once, so they're dawdling or talking to people or not wiping down the machine, trying to give you advice and they don't really know what they're talking about, or they think they do. People talking on their phone, they're staring at you. I remember I went to this one gym and I would wear a baggy sweatshirt and baggy sweatpants. And there was this one guy that used to wear these short shorts and he was older than me and it was a little bit creepy. And he always was staring at me. It was like, oh my God. gosh, really, please. I'm not wearing, 2 Band-Aids when I go to the gym. You really don't need to be staring at me. Maybe he was just trying to figure out how I could lift the weight I was lifting, because I usually increased it when I was on the pull down machine. I'd increase it to more than my body weight. So sometimes people get maybe taken aback at that. But, 80% of new members in gyms quit within 5 months. And a lot of that has to do with either they don't know what they're doing or they get injured. It's really important with physical training that you understand what is authentic human movement. How is the body actually designed to move? Now, in my academy, I teach people that. And it's really interesting. And we did a really cool class today. And actually, Hetty, are you here? Can you unmute yourself and tell everybody what we did this morning in the academy class? Are you here? We might need to ask her to unmute. Can you, let me
Okay, I
see.
just asked her to unmute.
Thank you
There
for
we
that,
go.
Robert. I was looking around for it, so that was very helpful. Yeah, we did a lot of squats today, so it was a lot of deep bending.
Yeah.
And
How many squats did we do, Hetty?
over 100, right?
Yep,
108.
108. Yep. Squats with overhead press combination.
And I recently got a diagnosis of arthritis in my lower back. It was no surprise at all. I knew, I knew the feeling was not a pleasant one, and no matter what I did, it didn't really go away. But the squats really helped. The more that I, deepen, the more that I move, I find it's just incredibly helpful. So I shared with, Eileen right after the workout that that was very beneficial. And now I'll have a new favorite one to do when I'm doing my 3 weekly ones to get my bonus points. So she just wanted me to share that with you who are in the class this morning.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Hetty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah. So I wanted you guys to know this. We did 108 squat overhead press combinations. Now, everybody in the class has a little bit of a different physical ability. We teach lots of modifications for people who might have a hip problem or a knee problem or whatever. And so that everybody's successful doing the moves, they are pain-free, they are effective, and they are performing with confidence and competence. And arthritis, and as I shared with Hetty, a lot of the times, if we have low back issues, we need to make sure we're focusing on the strength and power of our hips and the function and mobility of our trunk. And that protects the low back, because the low back counts on what's happening above and below. And we learn these things in the academy. So you learn authentic human movement and better training choices with improved results. That's critical. All right, culprit number 4, joint pain. A lot of people, I can't work out, it bothers me. Well, you just heard, even with a diagnosis of low back arthritis, you can still do 108 squat overhead presses as if you know how to do them correctly, and they can help you, not hurt you. So it's so critical. But let me ask you this question. Is joint pain normal as you age? Well, I'm going to kind of split the waters here with the words. Just because something is commonly seen or experienced, it doesn't mean it's normal. Is it normal, or is it simply common? So what's the definition of osteoarthritis? It's a degenerative joint disease in which the tissues in the joint break down over time. Disease. Now, what's the definition of disease? It's abnormal functioning. It's not normal to have disease in our body. It's abnormal. But everybody says, that's normal at your age. No, it's not. It's common, but it's not normal, not according to the definitions, and not according to real life. I worked with a lot of people. I've had people I've worked with like 90s, 100, and they're not filled with joints that are all broken down. So if it's not happening to everybody, it's not normal. Just want to throw that out there. So, and according to the World Health Organization, I mean, look at this. Joint damage, it's up 113% in the last 25 years. And 73% over, 55 years. 60% of them are female. The knee is the most frequent diagnosis with OA, 365 million people. And then the next most frequent is the hip. The next most frequent is the hand. And that might surprise you because you would think it would be the knee, but no, the hand, specifically the thumb. And then, of course, the fingers, the joints. And there's a lot of ways that you can improve that function. There's so many things you can do when you know the right strategies. But 344 million people have moderate or severe joint damage. And even the experts say they could benefit from rehabilitation. The problem is, most of the time when you go for rehab, it's absolutely useless and sometimes potentially harmful. So, yeah. So the $1 million question is, what causes joint damage? Shouldn't we want to figure that out? And I know there's all kinds of people talking about treating it. Lots of conventional medical recommendations and treatments and procedures and injections and surgeries. But what if we try to figure out what's causing the joint damage so we can, put the fence up on the top of the cliff and prevent people from falling over? So we don't have to, the ambulance is at the bottom of the cliff. Well, the Stanford University School of Medicine, they determined this quite a few years ago, actually, back in 2011. The primary cause of joint damage is not what we're told. It's not compression. It's not wear and tear. It's not old age. It's chronic inflammation. And I would have patients come in, they'd have a right total knee replacement. And I'd say, well, how's your left knee? They'd say, oh, the doc says my left knee is fine. But they just told me that the reason that they got the surgery is because, at my age, I wore that joint out. I'm like, well, how come you didn't wear out the other knee? Were you hopping around on one leg your whole life? So we in some people it's both sides. But I just want to let you know, if you've got a problem only on one side of your body, that's got nothing to do with old age or compression or wear and tear. There's an abnormal biomechanics going on. The joints aren't moving correctly. But chronic inflammation is the answer. And I love this, Dr. Joel Robbins. The smarter we get, the sicker we become because we're looking for cures instead of causes. Everybody's looking how to cure arthritis. How about if we stop it from happening? Wouldn't that be wise or ideal? All right. Culprit number 5. Not enough time. Got a busy schedule? I'm going to be really blunt here. I just kind of want to stop sharing for just a moment and speak from my heart. I have a lot going on in my schedule. I'm determined to walk out my assignment on this planet as long as I'm breathing. And I don't want to miss a thing. I want to squeeze every drop out of my life that I can, that is productive and helpful and joyful. But I also want to make sure that I spend time with the people I care about. I also want to make sure that I take care of my body. And a lot of the times people do not take care of themselves because they're too busy. Now, sometimes, but this is rare, sometimes you're the primary caregiver for an elder parent or family member. You might even still have kids at home, or you're babysitting your grandchildren at the same time. You might even still be working part-time. I mean, that's an insane schedule, and that, email me and I'll pray for you. But your average person is in charge of what their schedule looks like. And the average person can squeeze out 30 minutes a day to take care of themselves. If you're here and you're watching this either live or by recording, this is an hour long. Somehow you found an hour. Somehow you prioritized it. And even if I happen to be a person of very strong faith, and I know a lot of people who are, and they're working for God, and they're so busy in their ministry, they're so busy helping other people, they don't take care of themselves. Well, I'm going to be blunt. I don't think God wants that to happen. I don't think God wants people to not take care of their physical selves because they're so busy working for him. I don't think that's true. I really don't. And I've spent years streamlining things that you can learn, things you can do on a daily basis that require the least amount of time and give you the most bang for your buck. It is possible. I don't spend 3 or 4 hours a day in the gym. But I'll tell you, yesterday I did a high intensity interval training for core that blasted me in 20 minutes. It was fabulous. I make sure if I'm going to be sitting at my computer doing research and writing and content creation, I'm getting up every 20 to 30 minutes and doing 10 back bends, 10 squats. Sometimes I'll add 10 push-ups, and I'm drinking some water. By the end of your day, you'll feel amazing, and you got a lot of good workout in. So there are ways, no matter how busy you are. You just have to know. Okay? You need those tips, those hints, those strategies. Okay. We're going to finish up here, and then we're going to head downstairs. So remember yesterday, the benefits of being 60? If we don't want these, we have to invest time in ourselves. We have to take the time. Doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to be enough, and it has to be consistent. So what is your intention? What is your intention? Remember yesterday we looked at these? You want to predict how strong that you'll age? And it was absolutely ridiculous. If you're over 65, you should only be able to do this and not this. I mean, come on. Most of you put it in the chat. You're in your 70s and 80s, and you easily did more than 17, some of you. And then the balance that predicts longevity. Most of us did a minute. And we could have done longer, but we stopped at a minute. So why is it you're only required to do 18 or 19 if you're in your 70s? That's nuts. It's nuts. It's setting you up for decline, mentally and emotionally. But remember, balance predicts longevity and cognitive health. So it's a really good idea to know how to train your balance properly, but it's not standing on one leg, because balance is not rigidity. It's fluidity with control. I never worked with somebody who fell because they were standing still. It was always because they were moving. So you have to train balance in motion, not stillness. So we're going to go downstairs. I'm going to remind you of this disclaimer. Make sure that you do nothing that hurts yourself. Make sure that you talk to somebody if you believe that's a good idea. I'm not treating or diagnosing anybody in this. This is education. But what I'm going to demonstrate is how to assess balance in 3 planes of motion. And I will tell you that the test is the exercise and the exercise is the test. Just assessing yourself in this can be a workout. Just a little aside. So there was a link for you to print this out in the email. There's also a link to print this out on the website page that you'll be getting a little bit later. It's the same link that you got yesterday to view day 1. It's available in day 2, right below day 1. The videos will be posted shortly. All right, everybody. Are you ready? Hopefully you printed out your sheet. If you didn't have the chance to print out your sheet or you missed it, don't worry, it'll be there. I'm going to walk you through this. You can still do the movements with me. I'm going to demonstrate the movements, but I'm also going to suggest potential modifications so that no matter where you are in your journey of fitness and movement and function, you'll be able to do something with this, okay? Now, you can score yourself. So I'm going to want to hear at the end who got 12, which is a perfect score, or what your score was. I'm going to want you to put that in the chat. So what we're going to do is I want to make sure that if you have any history of falls, you have someone with you, maybe even with a belt around you and they're holding on while you try this. I do not want anyone injuring themselves, or that you're holding on to something if you know you should. Okay, just to get used to the movements. Now, of course, if you're holding on, you're going to get a 0, but don't let that deter you, because you will still be doing the movements successfully. And then as you build on that success, you will notice you need less and less support, less and less external stability. You'll progress, okay? Now, another way to make it a little bit easier, if you do have some balance deficit or some challenge, if you can't be on a tightrope, and you need the bar there to keep your balance, you can widen your stance, because we're going to get into something called a stride stance, which is 1 foot forward. And when you've got that 1 foot forward, you want to keep that front knee bent and the back leg straight if you can, because that's going to challenge your stability a little bit more. And then we're going to do movements with the upper body. We're going to use the arms and we're going to reach for things. So what you're going to want to do is the front leg is bent. You want to keep that knee nice and bent the whole time. And the back leg you want to keep straight if you can. And look down and notice if the back foot is turned out. If it's turned out, your body is attempting to provide a bigger base of support and give you more stability. Ideally, what happens when you make it nice and straight? So depending on the width between your feet and the position of that back foot, that's going to alter your ability to stay stable depending on where your starting point is. So just notice those things. Ideally, a 12 would be both feet are forward. You're not way wide. You're not necessarily on a tightrope. It's just if your feet are hip width apart and you step forward in a comfortable step, that's your starting point. Okay? All right. So there's that part of it. The arms. Your arms are going to go down about knee height, unless that's not good for you. If you're holding on to the kitchen sink, you might just want to reach forward. Okay? If going down knee height is too low for you, just go hip height or just go chest height. You're still reaching forward, and you can see I'm bending forward a little bit, so I'm loading the back of my body, has to get longer and stabilize me so I don't fall on my face. And then we're going to go up and back with the arms. And now I'm loading the front of my body, and it has to stabilize me so I don't fall back and smack my head open. A lot of people, as they age, they can't stand up tall. They're like this because the front of the body has lost strength and function. And if they stand up nice and straight, they're going to fall back. That's one of the number one reasons for this bent forward, as well as locked short here from lots of sitting. But that's a huge. So you can get taller just by strengthening the front of your body. Okay, little tip. So when you go to come up overhead like this, you want to be bending backward. Now, if your arms don't like that, you can do this. So you can still load, but no, you're not going to get a perfect 12 if your arms aren't all the way up. Now, you might want to have your palms facing each other. If you've got any shoulder issues, that tends to help with that. Okay, but if you got one arm that's not happy, go ahead and load up the other arm. If that's the case because you have a shoulder issue, I'm going to be really okay with you giving yourself a 12 if the other arm that has no problems goes all the way up and your body does everything else just right. Okay, because that's a shoulder issue, and that's not really impacting your stability. That is more of a joint problem. Okay, so we're also going to go side to side. So you'll be in that stride position, and you'll be doing knee height. And then you'll do that 3 times. And then you'll be going back with the arms down, up and back, arms down. You're going to do that 3 times. Then we're going to go sideways. And you're going to, I'll show you from behind. So I'm in that stride position. Arms are up. And now I'm going to side bend. Oh, I think I've got it left first on the sheet. So I'm going to side bend to the left, but you can see my hips going to the right when I do that. So I'm doing that 3 times, and then I'm going to go this way 3 times. And then the last one is rotation. You're going to rotate all the way with your arms straight out at about shoulder height. And the goal is, can you point all the way behind you? I'm pointed forward. I'm now pointed backward. And then, of course, the other way. And we're going to do that 3 times for each of those movements. Okay, everybody ready? So it'll kind of be like a workout, but you're also assessing yourself. So I'm going to start off with my right foot forward in that nice stride position, keeping that front leg locked, bent, back leg straight. And here we go. I'm going to do forward and back. There's 1, reaching at that knee height. 2, you can even reach lower if you want. You can go all the way down if you can. There's 3. Now I'm going to go up and back. There's 1. And the goal is to go really bend back, look up. There's 2. And there's 3. Now I'm going to put my arms up and I'm going to side bend to the left. My hips going right. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. Now we're going to go arms up and we're going to side bend to the right. My hips are going left. There's 1. There's 2. And notice I'm not in a hurry here. And there's 3. The slower you go, the more you're testing the power and the stability of your muscles. Now I'm going to go rotation. Arms straight out. I'm pointing all the way behind me for 1. Now I'm on a squishy floor. 2. So if you see my ankles wobbling a little bit, this floor is cushioned. 3. If you're on a nice solid surface, you may notice you're doing better. You might even want to try this barefoot on a solid surface and you may see it's better for you. And now I'm going to turn all the way this way. There's 1. I want to be pointing all the way behind me. 2. And 3. All right, so that was with the right leg forward. Now we're going to do the left leg forward. And again, you want to be nice hip width apart. Make sure the feet are both pointed forward. Front knee is bent, back knee is straight. And I'm going to reach down at knee height. You can go lower. I'm going to go ankle height. There's 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to go up and back. There's 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to do arms up. And I'm going to side bend to the left. My hips are going right. There's 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm going to side bend to the right. There's 1. My hips are going left. 2, and 3. And then the last one is rotation. Arms out. I'm going to rotate left all the way behind me. I'm really going for that range. Now your right arm is going to hit your chest too, so it's not going to go as far as your left arm. And 3. And now I'm going to rotate to the right. And now my right arm goes all the way around. 1. And you want your arms at shoulder height if you can keep them there. 2. And I'm really going as far as I can. And 3. Okay, so if you did all of those motions, you get a perfect 12. I want to see in the chat how you guys made out. And also, Robert is going to tell me if any of you had questions about the movements specifically. I want to make sure I answer those before we close for today. I'm seeing lots of 12s. Good, good, good. With some yays. 12, 12, 12. Oh, there's an 11. That's okay. 11 is pretty darn good. Yes, lots of 12. Some of you are saying, but you got some little caveats. Maybe you needed to do something. Are there any questions that you have? Could do almost 12, but right hip limiting. Yep, no questions. Yes. Are there any questions, Robert, that you can see that we need to answer?
No, but if anybody does, they can raise their hand or post it in the chat and we can relay it for you.
Okay. Sometimes you don't know how to type in the
Valerie
chat,
might
so if
have
you want to.
Go right ahead, Valerie.
I just had one question when you're standing up. I have a right hip problem, but the point is, do both feet face forward? Because I kind of have to give space, and one of my back legs doesn't work as well. So are they both the toes, the feet to face forward, or is there a little modification there, or whatever?
You can, yeah, great question, Valerie. I'm sure other people are thinking the same thing. Thank you. So you can always modify as needed. In order to get a perfect 12, you want your body to be functioning with those feet pointed forward. If you can see me here, you want, in the stride position. If you have to turn a foot out, then that means your body is not performing optimally when it comes to that movement, and that can impact your stability. So that wouldn't be a perfect 12 if you have to modify, but the goal is, excuse me for a second here. The goal is you modify as needed for your current ability, and gradually you'll notice you need less and less modification as the body improves in its ability to do that motion. You're training in function, not dysfunction. Because if you don't modify and you're feeling discomfort, you're feeling pain, and a lot of us are stuck in that. I'm not saying you, but just generally the public are stuck in that no pain, no gain thing. And we think that, here, I'll talk to the camera. We think that it's supposed to hurt in order for us to get better. And that is another lie from the pit of hell. When you're training your body, if you are performing movements repetitively that cause pain or discomfort, now it's different if you just had a knee replacement and you got to start walking. That's going to hurt like the dickens. There's no way around that. But if you're trying to rehab something, if you're trying to improve the function of body parts, and you're creating pain repetitively, your brain thinks it has to protect you from you. It's not telling you that it's going to cheat and cause the wrong muscles, the wrong pathways to perform the movements incorrectly, not what you're looking for, and you're going to train in dysfunction and you won't even know it. So success is key. And I drill this in, and I'm telling you, I've had people, in the private club, I get emails all the time. I finally started paying attention and doing it so that it didn't hurt, so that I had success, so that I was really confident in the movement, and I got better. My pain went away, or I got more stable, or I got stronger. Your brain wants to know it doesn't have to protect you from you. So you do not want pain with repetitive movements. That is never going to be your friend, not when it comes to truly achieving optimal human function. Okay, now it's different if you're going for the Olympics and you're getting that burn because you got to keep going. You got to have that grit, or you're in a mudder, or you're in a triathlon. Those are completely different topics. I'm guessing most of you here just really want to age stinking well, stay strong, fit, stable, and have joy. And that does not require you to have pain repetitively with anything you do. So, okay. Got on my soapbox there a little bit. So yeah, that's a really specific question, Valerie. That's a little outside the scope of this particular event. We can talk more about that privately, I think would be a better idea. Yes, Celeste says she's here to age well. I'm guessing you all are, right? So, okay, any other questions, Robert? Anybody else have their hand raised, or are we good?
I think we're good. If anybody has any last questions?
Nope. We're good?
I think
okay.
We're good.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Tomorrow, I'm going to teach you, today was an assessment that can be a workout. You can even use hand weights when you do those movements. And when you add a hand weight to that movement, oh my goodness, that transformational zone, when you're changing direction, wow, will you notice everything in your body light up and load and really control your motion. And so I'm going to teach you some really good moves tomorrow that's going to help you to age well. with lots of modifications. And I hope you'll be here live so you can ask questions if you have any. And we'll see you then. So thanks for being here. Bye, everybody.